Yeah. So good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night again. Uh, we did have some issues with our Wi-Fi today, or it wasn't our Wi-Fi. It's just Shaw. So if you lose us, then you lose us. So we'll still be back next week. So welcome everyone here and people who are joining us. I was really excited and happy to talk about such important insight last time, actually last 2 weeks. We were talking about expectations because our world changes. We talked about how we feel like a hero, we feel so strong, in control, then in seconds we can come tumbling down and we are at zero again. And then we try hard so the effort to climb up the mountain and then falling off the mountain. And people, all their lives, don't seem to get control of this up and down. So a lot of thought has gone into that. Keep your expectations low, keep them nil, keep them low, don't worry about the outcome. So today our session is focused on that. So we talk about, first of all, that what is the primary goal for human beings? So what do you think is the intention? What is one big thing that everybody incarnates for and wants to do? So what could that one thing be?
Experience love.
To experience love, okay.
Love and acceptance.
Okay, so we are at love and acceptance, okay. What else?
To learn.
To learn, okay, okay. So the fact that the soul has manifested, spirit has manifested in a physical body, we are on a physical planet, right, for a certain time. This is a good sign that we are here to physically create something, to physically manifest our soul vibrations, our spiritual nature, our mind, and whatever else we can create, including children, including health, including everything else. So the primary goal for all humans would actually be, if you go deeper and deeper, it will actually be to live a highest self-realized life. What does that mean? With your highest potential in every aspect of you, expressing your highest potential in every which way, whatever you do all the time. So for that we may have to learn, for that we may have to develop, for that we may have to, there's so many pathways of developing ourselves. So some people actually think the goal may be to create things, materials. Yes, those are part of it. Through materials, we realize that once you achieve your goal of whether buying a house or a car or even relationships, you feel there's more, there's more, there's more. It doesn't always satisfy you. So the only fulfillment would be where a person actually is expressing themselves at their highest level of soul power and creativity in every moment. So the goal actually is self-realization, because that is when you get to express your fullest self, all yourself, in every which way, all your skills. So does that make sense?
Of course.
Yes? Okay, say I, if it makes sense.
I.
Okay.
But that also suggesting that you have to know who you are, right? And lots of people nowadays say, I don't even know who I am.
Well, I think those are different thoughts. We can get into that. So self-realization means that you actually get centered in yourself, not in a right way, not in an identity way. It's just identifying to the soul, and then knowing that every given moment, every interaction you will have is full in that moment, but it's also a learning lesson for your next moment. It teaches you something. Every moment is teaching you something. Every experience is teaching you something. So we are forever eternal students. We are always learning. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of self-realization. Learning does not stop. And from that learning comes, the expression of that is living a fulfilled life. So if you want to know your goal, and so many people struggle, I don't know my goal, that is the only goal. That is the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the primary, the secondary. That is the goal. That for every human to be at their fullest in every moment. Now, when we have this goal, when we have this intention to live the fullest life, to create the fullest way possible, then, of course, we create other goals from this. And those goals are relationships, those goals are education, those goals could be health, whatever it is. But we also have an expected outcome. The minute you actually set a goal, you expect something from the goal. So before the goal even comes the expectation. It comes before, right? So if you look at the expectation, if you look at this field, what does it truly mean, and we examine it thoroughly, we will realize that it is one of our fundamental principles of governance, of living a full life, living actually an orderly life. We would have extreme, intense chaos, disarray, disorder if we did not have expectations. If we had people throwing stuff all over the place, littering all over the place, killing each other, harassing each other all the time, we would not have order. So we expect human beings to be in a certain orderly form. That is expectation. We also have expectations from us because we have a goal to live a full realized life, a fully potentialized life. So we obviously have high expectations for ourselves too. So it is not possible not to have expectations, whether it comes to you or whether it comes to somebody else. We just may not have examined it. So somewhere along the line, we've been living in some darkness, and because we did not recognize it. But every relationship, when you choose, whether it's spousal, whether it's friends, especially these relationships, you actually choose somebody who can help you get better, who you can talk to, who you can communicate to. There's an expectation there. There's an expectation in every relationship and everything you do. You invest money, you expect to make money. You go to the grocer, you want to buy a certain thing, you expect a certain quality. You pay your taxes, you expect a certain return. You expect that in Canada you will have health care, you will have better roads, you will. So it is impossible to be without expectations. It is impossible. And everybody, now the rules, the expectation rules can change from person to person. They vary. It depends where you were born, what cultural effect conditioning you have, or how you were brought up and your environment. Those can change, but everybody has, in a way, these underlying the same principle that's working. So if we understand that expectations is fundamental to our living, healthy living, orderly living, there's nothing that is possible if we don't have expectations. It's not possible. If you have intention, if you have a goal, then you have expectation. And we better do everything possible in our power to meet those outcomes, to fulfill those expectations. Now, the problem comes when we actually are not aware of what we expect. We may not have examined it. So it's not good enough saying that people are not nice to me. They don't acknowledge me. It's very important for us to realize in every relationship, what am I expecting from this? And how am I expected to be also? That's another step. The first one is which you can do with yourself. If you're really clear about why you're doing, what you expect from this, your behavior shifts. You behave in a very different way. So how many people have actually consciously examined what they expect from relationships, from coworkers? Not just at large that they should be nice to me, they should be respectful, not that. That what are your expectations? You're at a workplace, you want to work, you expect a salary, you expect a healthy environment where you will be working. You expect good communication between you, your colleagues, and your bosses. So, all of these are your expectations, right? When something breaks down in this field, we all of a sudden feel almost disjointed, or something has gone wrong. A part of our world, a part of our psyche breaks down. First thing, we get anxious. We start to blame ourselves. Could I have done something? What happened? Why didn't this thing happen? And we start to then blame the other party. Or sometimes people actually go into severe states of depression and anger and frustration, where they start to hurt themselves or even hurt somebody else. But this is only because we have not examined our expectations. So what would it really take to examine our expectations, get curious, even write them down? If you took this 1 week, if you're serious about your life and your growth and you want to express your fullest potential, it's really quite simple. It's not a long drawn process. You can actually start by writing that this is what I expect. Now, if you expect this, you want a certain health outcome, then you will be eating like that, right? You will be choosing food accordingly. You will be choosing your health practitioners accordingly. If something does not work, you will change it because it's not meeting your goals. So you see, you have the flexibility, you have the skills to change, to maneuver things, but you only have this power if you examine what's working and what's not working. So a lot of people, when goals are not met, they either go into a shell or they become like a tiger and attack. There's only two ways. Either you will attack or you will actually attack yourself silently.
Attack yourself silently, which leads to illness.
Which leads to illness, which leads to suppression. Now, what you don't talk is hurting you more than what you talk about. What you're hiding is hurting you more. What you're suppressing is hurting you more, is going to kill your potential more than what you are expressing. So we know that what we don't talk about, we keep talking about it in our head. It never goes away. It comes in our dreams. Years later, we still have to deal with it. So if you have not dealt with a situation full on, then somewhere you're going to have to keep living in bits and pieces till you actually learn to deal with it. Does it make sense? So a lot of us weren't taught how to deal with it. We are scared of confrontations. We are scared we may offend somebody. We are scared that the person may leave us, never want to meet us again. This happens in families too. So we actually don't talk about. We drop the communication. Okay? So at any given time, you still have a choice to deal with it. When I say deal with it, I don't mean sometimes you will not be able to talk about it. It's not possible. Sometimes you will not be able to write to them. It's not possible. So you cannot express it that way. At that time, you should still be aware that this is how I feel, this is in me, and this is what I would like whenever the chance comes. Not everybody will want to be with you all your life. There are people who leave and choose different people and different situations. So that's not a reflection on you. That doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a less person. So we don't need to carry the blame that somebody I cannot communicate with them, so I am maybe not doing enough. I maybe didn't do it the right way, or I'm to blame. So in order to get out of this self-blame, which is a disease, we are hypercritical of ourselves, hypercritical. You can criticize once or twice a day somebody else, but in your mind, you could actually be very critical of your own self. Why didn't I? I could have. How should I have? And then you're watching all the time. So one more myth I want to break. I love breaking myths because when we break something that was an illusion, it releases the truth. It gives truth rises when we break illusion. So we talk about being present. We talk about that because when we talk about goals, goals are all futuristic. They have to be, right? So, okay, so you have to imagine in the future, you have to step into your future self and then pull that potential by acting in a certain way. So, your future self, your soul self has everything. You've got the story and you're pulling everything, all experiences through it, through imagination or through whatever creativity. So, we always have one foot in the future. Always one foot. It has to be. So when somebody tells you to be present, that doesn't mean future is not included in the present moment. You have to have, if you have goals, if you have expectations, you have to be stationed, part of you, into the future to be there. And then also in the past. The same way, because that is your reference point. That is where you learned the lessons. So if you look at it, you are always either in the future or you are in the past. But both are contained within the presence, within your presence.
Which is infinity.
Which is infinity. That is true. Which is the eternal moment. So it is really, and people have been so confused. I've been asked that thousands of times, what is now? Now also contains your expectations, your goals, anything you do. How can you shut down your mind? There's a reason why you have your thinking, right? So when we do few things like I mentioned, and I thought this is such a fundamental principle to actually educate people on, that it could bring comfort and ease very quickly. You should have expectations. If you have high goals for yourself, you should have high expectations. It is okay for you to plan in the future. It is okay to go in the past and examine what didn't work and what worked. To get a good idea, inventory of what works for you, because you know what works for you. You can pull that, you can make it better and bigger for you, right? And then breaking this time myth and then dealing with situations in the best way possible. You'll never, one may say, you'll never be what you think you should have been. That is another false notion I want to break. There's no way you will ever be. You will meet up when you think about it later with what you thought you should have been. So if I'm thinking of that 2 years back or 2 days back, I could have done this, I could not have done it. At that time, that's all availability, that's all the space I had. But did I deal with the situation full on? Even I didn't dismiss it, I didn't deny it, I didn't divorce myself from that. I very consciously dealt with it. Either I learned a lesson from it, or I've consciously placed it somewhere so I will revisit it when I need it, right? I've placed it in my psyche. When I need it, I will go back and refer. I can look up that wisdom or information, right? I did not dismiss it, so I dealt with it. So the key is to deal with all situations 100% and then have total clarity about why you're doing what you're doing. Is it meeting your life expectation? Is it going to fulfill you or is it not? What happens? You save yourself a lot of wear and tear this way. So if your goal is to express yourself fully well in the moment all the time, then suppose you get into an argument. You may still have momentary reactions. When you're thrown punches, somebody's punching at you, or even otherwise, you will respond. But you will actually always be mindful that I want to be expressing what I can here.
Although sometimes it gets a little hard once you're in the moment because the ego takes over and that takes you on a different.
Yes, so the ego comes in when you are not mindful. Anytime you are not living through recognition, you are going to bring in some mimicry. You're going to mimic a behavior pattern you've learned which is foreign to you. That is the ego. That is not you. So if you live with full recognition, when you come to meditation, you spend a lot of time coming, you make time. It's not just this 1 hour you spend. You know what you will get. There is an expectation.
So for you, for clarification with regards to ego, it's more of conditioning.
Ego could be anything that is not authentically you. You are not.
Because authentically you're good.
Yes. So when I put on all kinds of concepts and I should be this and I should be this and my mind should be this, and then I'm borrowing from everywhere that is not of my experience, it'll never be of my experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is something that is little outside me. It's not within my scope of experience. It's not within my soul. It's just talking about something that may have no relevance to me, but now picking it up and making it a rule and then fighting my cause or fighting or arguing through that. So if you recognize, now let's do it. Say you're at a grocery store. You have some, not argument, but some discussion with a cashier over money or something. Now, you already know you want to express yourself in the best, fullest way. You will actually you may get irritated, but you will ask her the right questions and you will deliver the best way possible. That could be a gas attendant, that could be your sister, that could be your brother. You will not have this unnecessary stuff in your head that I've been offended.
Isn't that usually, though, the first response?
The first response, because that is kind of learned. We haven't practiced through recognition.
But isn't it hurt? Like, I think, for me, I feel hurt.
Yes.
Like, right, if someone, I feel attacked or
Yeah.
hurt.
So even if we accept that. First reaction could be hurt. Okay. Now, how you will act in that moment should fulfill you. Should be something that you really want to do. So that is when you actually have fully realized that this is what I expect my behavior to be. This is how I want to behave. So you've got some kind of measure. Then you may have choices at that time. You may actually still tell them off. That could be a choice. You could not. You could just go away. You could do there's many choices. There's nothing right or wrong. But you're doing it very mindfully that this is what I want to do in this moment. You won't be pushed by blindness to keep doing it. So that is the power of recognition, that I have been hit, I've been punched, okay, at this time. What I do, does it suit me in some way? Is it going to work for me in some way or not?
From something I've learned, something called, I don't know if you ever heard of it, A Course in Miracles, that they would take the concept, if somebody has hurt you, that nobody can really hurt you because we are unable of being hurt because we're full and we're complete and we're whole. So you really can't be hurt. And if you feel hurt or feel attacked, it's because you're attacking, it's your ego that's out there. It's not true the essence of who you are, because you really can never be hurt.
That's actually what happens is when somebody calls you a name out of the blue in a store somewhere or attacks you in some way, your first reaction will be shocked and hurt. So that may not be that you are egoic. That is just your response. The body is in shock. And because we are not used to it, because in your book of expectations, you don't want to behave like that with anyone. So that is foreign to you. But people, like I said, are using different rules. And they haven't recognized what rules they're using. So they could be dishing out a lot of evil, a lot of hurt to you all the time. Will it hurt? Yes. That first blow will come. Don't try and save yourself. Expect the blow. That's why you will actually have the strength. But then also recognize that is it a good call to give it right back? Sometimes it is, it's totally right. And sometimes it may not be. So that again, act according to what your book of expectations, your book of rules says. Because your book of rules fits your big plan, your life plan. So there's no set behavior that you will not call them back on it and you will not. Uh, there's nothing to say that this is right or this is wrong. But also remember, everybody has their own book of rules and expectations. Because also, I'll tell you something, people would be quite similar in some way because the end goal is always the same. The primary goal for every human is the same. But when we haven't consciously realized that that is my goal, that is why I've incarnated in physical body, then we get lost. And we have different value systems going. Then the goal could be saving your religion, saving your wealth. You could be obnoxious, you could be doing anything to save yourself, to protect yourself. So the goals are, if we have not recognized the very purpose of our existence, then we are going to have problems and we will have a lot of chaos.
I have a question, like the recognition. I feel like I'm analyzing every little thing. So recognizing like mistakes. Also, I remember 30, 40 years ago when I said something wrong, but I don't know how. He said that you have to deal with it, but I can't let go of it. I still kind of, you beat yourself up over it. Even though I know it doesn't do me any help, it doesn't do me any service. They say meditate and go in the rain balloons and stuff, and
That'll never go away, Sylvia. It'll never go away because it's part of your experience. From that very experience has emerged this Sylvia. Because of those things, you are today the way you are. So that reason for which that may have been lesson later to you, that may have been something that made you grow. So at that time, that was the best you could have done, remember. And now you actually are here today. So you can think about it because you have access to that memory. And maybe that one thing makes you remember never to be like that. So it comes up because maybe in your situation, if you want to be nasty or rude, or you think of that, oh, I was there, so I don't want to do that. So it's a strong learning lesson maybe somewhere. So if you recognize that it was a learning lesson, and that's why you are the way you are today because of that, then that action or that experience has served you well.
Well, but that assumes though that you like who you are now, right? Like people always say, but that's, this upbringing is what you are, as you are now, but that presumes that you're happy with who you are.
Yeah, like I said, it is very natural to be hypercritical. We criticize ourselves the most. So that has to be recognized too. All of this is recognition.
How do you deal? Like you say, it has to be dealt with, but
Yes.
I don't know how to deal with it.
No, actually, what happens is when you recognize something, recognizing itself, it's not step one. It actually also is the final step. When your recognition is high, your awareness level is high on that, there's so much energy in that there's separation between that and the power that has recognized it. There's something in between. The recognizing power stands there now. So you will not be able to ever mimic that behavior, ever. You will never be, but if the recognition is not full and complete, it is less. You kind of know it, right? You just know it. But you have not examined it, you have not worked with it, then it's not developed, the recognition. So you will be haunted again and again. So the recognition has to be full.
If it's there for a reminder, okay, that you screwed up or whatever, but if it's haunting you constantly.
So you can say thank you to that. You can actually thank yourself for that. Because that is what has served you really well too. So you can actually thank yourself that you remember it, and that you never want to, in your rule of books, you don't want to act like that. That's another expectation you've set because of that, right? So your expectation is even higher of you now, that I don't want to do this again. So you can actually thank it every time it shows up. You can be grateful and thank that.
And forgive yourself.
And see what happens. That thank you for that. That because of that, I was able to grow into, I have now these desires because of that.
She's also judging herself on a situation that happened to her, as opposed to looking at yourself as where you were at that time and just letting it go, because you're judging yourself for something that happened against you, and
That'll be hard for you not to judge, because people actually, it's like a record that plays in the psyche. We are very obsessive actually. We are obsessive thinkers, even if we don't think we are. We think again and again and again and again, and then at night, and then during the day, and then it comes back in any given time, right? So that you may not be able to control, because the human psyche works like that. So I think that you have to just basically recognize that everything in the past has shaped you today to your betterment. And so that is where you remember that was a great lesson. And thank God I had that lesson, because I wouldn't be doing this today otherwise. So that is where you just put it on a different shelf. It doesn't go away, but now you've got a light shining on it. You will always visit it with thankfulness. So just make it converted, because it is a treasure for you.
So I find, especially with all the awareness now, before I never knew that I was judgmental, but with the awareness now, I am really judgmental.
Well, this is true.
It's just so coming up, it's coming up and coming up. And
Well, actually, you're doing well, because first of all, we don't even know that we're judging. So imagine the auric field. So you have this much aura, right? And then you can't see yourself. You can't recognize anything. You keep doing blindly whatever you're doing. Then you do some work and the aura increases to this. Now you can see a bit more. So you start to now you don't see the full picture. You only see isolated, right? So anything so then you start to judge. There's this conflict and fight inside, right? So when you do your meditations, the auric field increases. It not only increases with meditation, it increases actually with your understanding and recognition. That increases the field. Then you're acting with that recognition, expands the field. So when there comes almost a tipping point in the auric field, when you actually have reached a lot, the aura is quite big. It gets bigger with every experience. It can shrink also, but it gets bigger. If you're living a conscious life, it'll get bigger. And now as it gets bigger, every situation is helping you grow. Every situation, including this one that keeps coming up. So you will look at life differently. After a while, the auric field becomes so expanded that it's so large that you as a person disappear. You are just what you are at that given time, whether future, whether past, whatever you are. Because it's the field, it's like a burst, starburst. And that one could say enlightenment or awakening of sorts, where you actually stop identifying with I and me is just this. So most of us imagine living in a house, never having to go out, just from one room to the other. All you know is the house, and the house has boundaries, it has doors, maybe a few windows, but you can just go room to room. Then somebody one day tells you that you have a rooftop, You can actually, there's the stairs, you can go to the roof. Now, when you go to the roof, you realize you can look at the stars, you can look at the space. You couldn't have seen it from within the house. But from top of the house, you can. And that is limitless. So that's what happens when we start to give ourselves space. And the deeper your higher the goal, like I told you exactly what the goal is. There's no other goal, and this is the only goal we have. And then you're at high expectations of yourself. So you better, better, better. Then each situation you deal with consciously. And you may fall, you may, you'll flirt with it, but you'll get there. The power that you intention to recognize in itself is a power, and it's a strong power. And then as you get there, this is the place that ultimately awakening is what I'm talking about. And humans yearn for that, even though they don't know what it means, because they want to step out of themselves. They want to experience the world as large as the world, not just as a small personal self. So this is everybody's desire.
So what's the difference between enlightenment and awakening? Like I thought like awakening is when all of a sudden you realize more. But enlightenment is when you actually, that's when you're out in, when you lose your person.
They could be another two words, because you awaken in different stages. You awaken to that. You are enlightened to that. So it happens in different stages. But there does come a time when actually there is, like I said, that starburst and just a splintering effect which creates this great awareness, which is much larger than you. Then your reference point of life and you as a soul and you as a story changes.
The reference point is not out there anymore.
No, it's not out there. Yeah.
Will we have time to meditate?
Yes, we're going to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's good, because these questions keep coming up again and again. So we will actually do some. What time do we have now?
7:56.
Okay, so why don't we now meditate? Okay. It's a good idea. Okay, so we'll do it for about 15 minutes.
For meditation.
Okay, great.
Right?
She says, right.
Right.
And everybody's, we're not sure.
All forms of meditation.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. So drop those beautiful eyelids. Take a nice deep breath. Feeling your presence head to toe. Place your attention on the tongue and let the tip of the tongue touch the upper palate. As we meditate today, we call upon the sages, saints, prophets, light beings, enlightened beings to come and support this meditation. Let each and every person receive healing. Let every person here receive and connect to the deepest level of their soul. Place your attention on sounds outside your body. So coming from the room or the house. Place your attention now upon the heart. Rhythmic breathing, so equal inhale, exhale. Nostril breathing, slow down the breathing. Longer exhale, inhale. There's nowhere to go, no reason to rush. Imagine a white feather in front of you, floating in space. Gaze upon this feather. Your gaze will hold it in place. It will not fall or fly. Keep gazing upon this white feather. Soon your body, your vibrations, your mind will become as light as the vibrations of this feather. So keep gazing, soft, gentle breathing. Notice how light your vibrations are. Let the feather fly away. Bring your gaze in the body, in the crown chakra, top of the head. Visualize a beautiful white light, the color of the feather, coming into the crown chakra, into the crown, filling your head and down into the body. All the trillions of cells are filling with this white healing light. Head to toe, you're filled with this white light. This is the light of clarity, the light of wisdom. It gives you the power to recognize, power to be aware. Soak in this for a few moments. Come back to the heart. Place your attention on both the feet, left foot, right foot. Feel them. Place your attention on both knees, left, right. Both hips. Both shoulders. Top of the head. Eyes. Nose. Tongue and mouth. Throat. Back to heart. Remember the stillness, this lightness. It's always there, no matter how seriously you're worrying or thinking, whether you have emotional burdens, this lightness still exists in you. Send this light to the children of the world. Let there be no child without a smile. Let the children be protected, be safe, be loved, be guided, be looked after. They are our future. The healthier they are, the safer our world will be. Send this light to each other, all humanity. Let all humans become aware, enlightened, awakened. Let their goal be self-realization, actualization, living to the highest potential always. Send this white light to sea life, plant life, animal life. Let this planet be healthy, in harmony and balanced. Receive this light coming back to you several folds from everywhere you had sent it. Into you, back into the heart, into the solar plexus, shining, glittering, glowing, and then throughout the body, and out of the body, increasing your aura several folds. Take 3 deep breaths, long breaths head to toe, sealing this aura so it becomes protective. It brings you health and nurtures you. Great, rub your hands. Good. We got 20 minutes of good meditation. Okay, that was good. What a nice smile you gave today.
Tommy?
What a nice smile you just,
Oh.
yeah. Those involuntary smiles and, facial expressions, really, should be photographed. Yeah, it was deep. What happens is when you understand, you use your intellect and mind to go deeper, and you're talking about the truth, and you reach your truth at some level. You're hitting the point, the soul. That is deep, deep, deep. They call it discourse. It's not talking, it's a discourse. Discourse is a very brilliant meditation. It's satsang. So it's a type of a meditation because you go deep to accept your mind is still active, but you're still deep. So we did that for a long time, and we were talking about something very fundamental, something very true. So we saw that, and then how easy the silence was already there. We just basically stepped into it. So that is the power of truth, the power of satsangs and discourses. Yeah. So this is good. I hope that you all will practice this, examining your expectations. Do it with one person, then do it with one thing, and it just write it down. It'll actually really make you so clear, and it'll confirm to you for yourself that your biggest goal is self-actualization and fullest expression of your potential. Once you can actually feel that in you, your rules change, your behavior changes after that. So we will stop here unless there's a quick question. Okay, So we can stop here. Namaste. And we will see you next week. Next week is Diwali. So I will make sure that it's on the Facebook. So we'll start at 6:30 though, because we want it'll be a special meditation. And then we'll have a potluck. So I'll describe it, and you can wear fun clothes like sparkly, and if you want, or jeans and shorts are enough. But however, you can dress up for that. We'll have some nice little celebration. We'll do a potluck. So maybe if everybody brings something for 4 people, it's plenty, you know. And I will have something also, a couple of favorites. And we'll have some Bollywood music. It'll be till 8:30. So 6:30 to 8:30. So put on your dancing shoes and be ready. We'll see. Okay, namaste.